Maximum alert in Ukraine. Embassies are evacuating and foreign nationals are leaving in a hurry. And the whole thing is going into a new escalation. If you see the videos before this one, Russia preparing new front from north into Kiev of the Ukraine from Belarus. And that prophecy was given over 100 years ago. And it's been fulfilled. Now, maximum alert in Ukraine. China is among the first countries to call on its citizens to leave Ukraine immediately. Escalation messages. Messages of new escalation of conflict from Ukraine after the bombings in Donetsk, Belgorod, and a week after the attack on the Crimea bridge. A number of, this is just exactly today, a week since the Crimea bridge was sabotaged. A number of countries are calling on their citizens to leave Ukraine immediately, while embassies are being evacuated. At the same time, Russian forces continue to have military and energy infrastructures attacked, while the Ukrainians are trying to stop Russia. I don't know what's happening there, but anyway, China's foreign minister has called on the citizens to leave Ukraine immediately, according to Global Times newspaper on Twitter. And according to that paper, China's foreign ministry and the country's embassy urged Chinese citizens in Ukraine to leave the country. The Chinese embassy will help organize the evacuation of its people in need. Kazakhstan's foreign ministry also said its embassy in Kiev would be evacuated and possibly moved elsewhere in the coming days. Similar warnings were issued by Egypt, Serbia, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan. In fact, the American Army expressed its strong concern about the warnings in question, and also sirens have been sounded. The air raid sirens sounding across Ukraine, regional authorities and Ukrainian media reported, and according to Klimenko Times news agency, air raid sirens sounded in all regions of the country. Authorities in Odessa, Nikolaeva, Poltava regions, as well as some western regions. West is where the capital is of Ukraine, Kyiv. They urge the citizens to stay in shelters. Heavy losses for Ukrainians. Russian forces destroyed 5 ammunition depots in Kherson region, the Donetsk People's Republic, and the city of Zaporizhzhia. The Russian Defense Ministry spokesman, Lieutenant General Igor Konashenkov, said, "We know that these are the new annexed areas that Russia is now believes it has a right to defend." So, high precision shots. Russian armed forces continue to target Ukraine military and energy facilities in the past 24 hours. Russian Defense Ministry spokesman said Ukrainian armed forces tried to break through Russian defenses last day, but Russian troops stood their ground. And now, since the start of the special military operation in Russia, the military has destroyed 323 aircraft. The Russian military destroyed 323 aircraft, 161 helicopters, 2,247 unmanned aerial vehicles, drones that is, 380 missile systems, 5,830 tanks and other armored combat vehicles, 870 multiple rocket launchers, 3,480 field guns, and as well as 6,505 special military mortar vehicles. Now, on October 15, 2 unknown persons had the terrorist act of training at a training ground in Western Military District in Belgorod region, committed the act. Russian Defense Minister said they opened fire using small arms on military personnel. So the shelling in Donetsk has been going on. Russia last month annexed Ukraine's Donetsk, Lugansk, Kherson, Zaporizhzhia regions. That's about over 20% of the total of Ukraine and about 9 million people, mostly Russian-speaking. The biggest expansion of Russian territory in at least half a century after referendums were held and they voted to be annexed by Kiev. Now, Western governments in Kiev denounced the votes as violating international law, coercive and unprecedented and representative. Meanwhile, fighting continues in various areas while Russian forces repeatedly attempted to capture Bakhmut, which is located on a main artillery road leading to the cities of Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. NATO has involvement in Ukraine. NATO is actually involved in the conflict in Ukraine, but in no way affects Russia's goals, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said today. In fact, NATO has been involved in Ukrainian conflict. However, it in no way affects our goals. Having said that, the operation will continue and we will overcome it, he said in an interview in Moscow, as reported by TASS. NATO aid to Ukraine complicates the situation, but Russia is still able to continue its special military operation, the Kremlin said. Obviously makes us, they said, mobilize our financial and other forces. The regime of Kiev is one thing and the capabilities of NATO another. It means extra weight. However, our capabilities make us able to continue the business in this situation, Peskov said. Zelensky said, under the control of the Ukrainian army, cities in Donbass, fighting continues unabated. According to Zelensky, Russian forces in the last 48 hours hit 7 different locations, and some of the missiles and drones were shot down. Unfortunately, not all. Unfortunately, there are disasters and victims, Zelensky said. And according to Ukrainian president, nearly 65,000 Russian soldiers lost their lives beginning February 24th. Last August, the American Pentagon estimated that the Russian invaders numbered 80,000 casualties. It's not that sirens sounded across Ukraine early on Sunday as Russian bombing continues as today. Today is the 16th, of course, albeit at a lower intensity than the beginning of the week. It was also supported by President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, who emphasized that the missile attacks had an effect on achieving their goal, pointing out that there is no need to continue the massive attack in Ukraine. He said, "It's not my intention to destroy Ukraine." He pointed out that the goal is to complete the mobilization process of 300,000 Russian soldiers over the next 2 weeks, estimating that additional military forces will not be needed. And for his part, the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, said that Ukraine is stronger than ever and argued that the Ukrainian armed forces are capable of taking back all Ukrainian territories. Okay, so you see every few moments something new happens. And this is the news today, that Belarus has Russian soldiers preparing. There's about 80,000 on the border between Belarus north of Kiev, which is the capital of Ukraine, and the embassies are evacuating because they believe something is about to happen. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. I've translated this for you from a Greek article. Thank you. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.